Welcome back to the Hero's Journey podcast. We're on episode number 32. We are looking at Golden Age comics still. We left off around April 1944. Before we begin, I'd like to give a shout out to a good friend of the show, Anthony Perdue. If you look back on last few episodes, you'll see that Anthony likes to put in some great background information into the comment section for these podcasts. So feel free to read some of those comments. It adds really fills in some good color for these for the podcasts. Without further ado, let's get to the comics. Let's see what's going on. Okay, first up, Master Comics number 49. This is from Fawcett, April 1944. Fun cover. Not the greatest image of that cover that I could find probably, but it was difficult to find this one as it was. And hopefully I keep looking at it thinking that maybe someone can clean the cover and maybe get the markings off it. Anyway, fun cover. Captain Marvel Jr. So at some point, Captain Marvel Jr. is hit by a ray from Dr. Savannah's new invention that sends him into a spirit dimension. Kind of fun story, why not? You have a recent CGC 7.0 sale from September of 2020 for $315. After that, we have National Comics number 41. This is from Quality, April 1944. Quicksilver catches up with 3 ex-acrobats dressed as black cats out for revenge after one of their brothers died 10 years ago. We have a recent CGC 6.0 sale from September of 2016 for $85. And there's only 7 of these on the CGC census. So last sale that I could find was from over 4 years ago. It was only $85 for 6.0. So I expect this comic tough to find, probably fetch a higher price these days for sure. Moving right along, Police Comics number 29. That's from Quality, also April 1944. Good old Plastic Man on the cover. I grew up in a time when comics most of the time had word bubbles on the cover, and the trade dress was big, word bubbles on the cover, character speaking, it was big flashy words saying, who was appearing in the comic and special appearances and this and that, and it's great. And I love those days. I mean, I understand the covers these days. They're, it's all about the art and looking good and minimal trade dress and virgin covers, and really about, the covers don't always have to do with what's inside the book. I get that. And I appreciate that as well. But this kind of cover brings me back to my childhood, and I really love those covers. So first up, you have Plastic Man. He investigates the death of an eccentric millionaire, and he finds that he lost all of his money and killed his twin brother to take his place so they could disappear. Human Bomb and Eustace Throckmorton are approached by a mysterious woman asking for help to prove her innocence. But she's part of a gang of thieves who double-crossed her. You have a recent CGC 8.0 sale from December of 2020 for $402. There's only 10 of these on the CGC census. For an 8.0 for $402, this seems quite a bit undervalued. But I feel like a lot of these Golden Age books are. Following that, we have Sensation Comics. Number 28 is from DC, April 1944. Another fun Wonder Woman cover. Her proportions seem a little off in this one. Seems like the drawing was a little off. Still like that kind of line work. H.G. Peters does good work. Wonder Woman is made to do the work for criminals when the mayor, the police chief, and gangsters work to tarnish her reputation because the green imps of jealousy are causing mischief. So the mayor wasn't happy that Wonder Woman was stealing their thunder by donating all sorts of money to buy bonds. It was like $1 billion worth of money to buy bonds, which is just an insane amount of money back in the 1940s. Following that, Mr. Terrific travels to the year 7532 AD to help overthrow a tyrant. This is the first time Mr. Terrific travels through time. So this guy's in the future, didn't know how to overthrow a tyrant. They thought, oh, Mr. Terrific, he knows everything. So we'll go back in time, a good 5,000 years and bring him back. And finally, Wildcat hunts for treasure when Jean Lafitte's key surfaces and the owner and some crooks are hoping to cash in. You have a recent CGC 6.5 sale from March of 2020 for $528. Now, on the heels of that issue, we have our good friends over at Star Spangled Comics, issue number 31. This is from DC, April 1944. It's a fun, it's a really interesting cover. I like it. Why not? It's a good cover. I like it. So you see, the Guardian and Newsboy Legion, Guardian and the Newsboy Legion are after the Purple Mask Gang and find them after the boys are after the boys are tapped to star in a radio program. So they start in a radio program, Purple Mask Gang tracks them down, and or they end up in the same studio working sort of side by side, and there's a whole racket going on. Newsboy Legion catches on, Guardian shows up, saves the day, bing bang boom. Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy are on the trail of a couple of desperate artists turned firebugs trying to take advantage of rich people. So their idea was that if these starving artists, if they set fire to a house, rich people would grab the most valuable possessions as they run out of the house while their house is on fire. So, I think the first time they did it, they were disappointed to find that the lady had grabbed her dog, because that was the most important thing for her to grab on her way out. So that didn't really work out. But then they wanted to hold the dog for ransom, and it was all of it. Liberty Bell is on a goodwill tour of South America, where they find planes are crashing against a solid sky, which is a trap. This is a trap set by the Axis using high-altitude balloons and blue steel cables. Robbie the robot dog is kidnapped and gets freed thanks to the help of Robot Man. Now Robbie can now speak with regular vocabulary. Before, what did he say? He just had one line in the previous issue a couple months ago. Said, "I'm a robot dog," or "I can help you," or I don't remember what it was, but only had one line. Now he seems to have a full vocabulary, can carry on conversations. Great. You have a recent CGC 5.0 sale from December of 2020 for $305. Now, after reading some of Anthony Perdue's comments and doing a little bit of research, I come to find that now in this issue, you'll see that Jack Kirby did some work on this issue and in a lot of issues in this era. But it turns out, and I'll read a little bit of an excerpt from Wikipedia about Jack Kirby. So with World War II underway, Leibowitz expected that Simon and Kirby would be drafted. So he asked the artist to create an inventory of material to be published in their absence. The pair hired writers, inkers, letterers, and colorists in order to create a year's worth of material. Kirby was drafted into the US Army on June 7th, 1943. After basic training at Camp Stewart near Savannah, Georgia, he was assigned to Company F of the 11th Infantry Regiment. He landed on Omaha Beach in Normandy on August 23rd, 1944, 2.5 months after D-Day. Sorry, 2.5 months after D-Day. Although Kirby's reminiscences would place his arrival just 10 days after. So he showed up after D-Day. Point is, either it was 2.5 months later, or 10 days after. Kirby recalled that a lieutenant, learning that comic artist Kirby was in his command, made him a scout who would advance into towns and draw reconnaissance maps and pictures, an extremely dangerous duty. So essentially, it's going to be kind of difficult to be, I really shouldn't be too hard on Jack Kirby. This guy was working really hard. Him and Simon had hired a bunch of people to help them create all this material in advance, a year's worth of material. So this stuff's being published and he's not even there. And it was probably kind of rushed to begin with. So I have to tip my hat to Jack Kirby, certainly in his memory, and gives me a better appreciation for the work that was put out with his name on it during that time. And it's great to hear that he was, such a, I guess I'll make him a war hero, taking on, being assigned these dangerous missions to do the reconnaissance. Good for him. Good for him. Hope his family's proud. Okay, next up, Whiz Comics 53 is from Fawcett, April 1944. We got I guess, kind of a rare cover. We have Billy Batson and Captain Marvel on the same cover. Captain Marvel falls in love and keeps Billy Batson up a few nights in a row, only to find out the object of his affection is already engaged. Ibis, the Invincible, and Taya travel back to 1893 to track down a crooked scientist who took a pill for time travel in the hopes of cashing in on inventing the radio that he took back with him. So a couple scientists invented a pill. One scientist killed the other, took a pill, went back in time, and he took a radio with him back to the past to hopefully, he thought, I'll sell this for like $1 million. Gets back to the past, turns it on, hoping to wow everyone. Oh, right, turns out there's no radio station, so the radio is kind of useless in the past. Looks great. It's got all sorts of wires and doodads, but doesn't do much, unfortunately. For this issue, you have a recent CGC 7.0 sale from October of 2020 for $400. Following that, you have another Marvel family story, WoW Comics number 24, Fawcett, April 1944. Now, this is the first 52-page issue, down from 60. So another page reduction there. They're slowly all being reduced. Mayor Marvel helps out Uncle Marvel when he takes on a case of sabotage at a building under construction. So Uncle Marvel, I don't know if you remember Uncle Marvel, he's pretending to be part of the Marvel family. He doesn't really have any powers. He's a total imposter. Mary Marvel does know this. She doesn't let on that she knows. And she helps out Uncle Marvel, thinking that he's a harmless old man that's just trying to do some good. And it does seem like he's trying to do some good, although he is trying to profit from these cases that he takes on. Oh, did I say the CGC sale? No, I did not. Recent CGC 8.5 sale from March of 2020 for $312. There's only 8 on the CGC census. That seems criminally low for a Golden Age book and an 8.5. Young Allies, numero 12. That's from Timely, spring 1944. This is an Alex Schomburg cover. So obviously there's going to be lots of action, lots going on the cover. People shooting. You always have one of the flame guys, firebugs there, Toro burning through something. You got a couple of the Young Allies being tied to a rocket. Yeah, lots going on. Can only imagine what more would be going on in this cover if the trade dress didn't take up about a third of the cover. All right, so in the first stories, the Young Allies chase the head around the world as he decapitates important figures and takes their heads. I have to say, this is one of the more gruesome prize stories, and talk about decapitating heads and taking the heads. So that's not that it's gory specifically in terms of the details and the art work, but certainly the subject matter seems to be a little dark. Next up, the Young Allies are off to Switzerland after the Mad Mechanic sends a load of time bombs disguised as watches. He has a secret Nazi base in the Swiss mountains with all sorts of diabolical inventions. You do get a Captain America cameo in this issue, in that story, And then Jeff, one of the young allies, is gifted a personal helicopter from his father. So that's what they use to get to Switzerland and back. There's this little wiener helicopter that looks kind of fun to have. I wish I had one myself. For this issue, you have a recent CGC 2.5 sale from December of 2019 for $415. I would have thought it would go for higher. I guess the Captain America cameo is not enough to put up the price with an Alex Schomburg cover. But you never know. I mean, that sale's over a year old now, so maybe it would command more now. Okay, so that's it for April of 1944. We are moving on to May of 1944. And when we start off a new month, we always start off with Action Comics because it's in alphabetical order. So this is Action Comics number 72, DC, May 1944. Fun cover, Superman on there. Again, trade dress. Geez, they love their trade dress in that era. It's almost half the cover. Superman interrupts the plans of a moving company to take over another moving company by any means necessary so that they can get a bank job and rob the vault. So they had rival moving companies, one trying to take over the other. And this one was tasked to move bank vaults from one location to another. And so this competition decided, hey, if we can take over that company before they do the job, we can take the job ourselves and just take the money from the vaults. Sneaky. But Superman intervened, so that didn't work out. In this story, in this issue, a statue of Superman is erected at the Metropolis Hall of Fame. So that's fun. And then Zatara sees through a hoax where gangsters act as Merlin, King Arthur, and Knights of the Round Table in order to swindle rich people to join them in eternal life. You have a recent CGC 4.5 sale from April of 2020 for $385. Oh, there's the big red star. So that's going to tell you that this is the big book of the week. Captain America Comics number 38. That's from Timely, May 1944. You have an Alex Schomburg cover, also a bondage cover. Not just Bucky, but the woman on the cover being tied up. So it's Alex Schomburg cover. So obviously, again, lots of action, shooting, knives being thrown, shooting at Captain America shooting, trying to free people. Is a busy cover. Busy. You got bats flying around. You got skeleton, bones. Love it. Love these covers. Always so much to see. Okay. In the first story, Captain America and Bucky track some escaped Japanese prisoners, missing plane parts, ammunition, and oil to a stronghold in the desert where they are planning an attack on U.S. soil. So they were hoarding all these parts, going to build a bomber, a fleet of bombers, and just go cause havoc, mayhem, and destruction. The next story, Human Torch and Toro put an end to a ring of gangsters led by the Dagger, who intend to profit off the food from farms and then sell to restaurants at inflated prices. So these guys are taking advantage of the war effort, and it's not appreciated, trying to make some money during the war off of poor innocent people just trying to earn a living. Captain America and Bucky are traveling over the Arctic in a cargo plane that is shot down. Looking for a camp, they fall through the ice and discover an oasis over an inactive volcano that is inhabited by Japanese soldiers and some cellmen. Now, these cellmen are creations, these big, ugly abominations that split in two when they're struck. Finally, Captain America and Bucky are captured by a doctor who shows them that they have met several times in previous lives. So he has them strapped down, hooks them up to this machine that shows images on a screen and shows them in, shows Captain America Bucky and this mad scientist and how they've met in previous lives, going back to, beginning of mankind, essentially. For this issue, you have a recent CGC 2.5 sale from July of 2020 for $1,375. So when you have a low grade, so when you have a 2.5 that sells for over $1,000, chances are that is going to be your big book of the week, and that's what this one is. So that's it. Another great cover by Alex Schomburg. I like these. I know. I feel like it's polarized. Some people are like too busy. They don't like it. See what's going on. I like it. I like Alex Schomburg's artwork. I like images where the more you look at them, the more you see each time. So it's great. I love it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate if you watch this far again. I appreciate you watching till the end. Good for you. This is kind of like one of those end credit scenes where there's really nothing going on at the end, and Ferris Bueller, like, go home. Just go home. Show's over. Go home. All right, take care. Thank you very much.